But I gave myself again to that fire, threw myself into it.
Oh my god, no one's stopping her. Damn.
Oh, it's been a while. Sorry I haven't made any new videos recently. A new season of Severance came out, so I had to drop everything. Today we will be reading the TikTok phenomenon, A Court of Thorns and Roses, or ACOTAR as it is known. And in this book there's a girl who travels to a fairy land and she falls in love with a fairy, and that's it. I have read this book before, actually, about 3 years ago, or at least most of it, but I dipped. From memory, I truly don't remember anything about it, but I remember powering through it. And I've had a lot of people tell me that this is the good one out of the TikTok books. Ignore Fourth Wing, that's the bad one. This is actually the really good one. And once again, I don't know what kind of cat dream you're all on. And yeah, of the 3 TikTok books that I've chillied for, this is easily my least favorite. Are you guys well? But the first 3/4 of this book were just awful, and I wanted to die, and then the book started to get funnier by the end, so yeah, let's get into it. But first, oh sister, bring the chilies. Luckily I have my sister here today. She's gonna hand me the chilies. Normally she wouldn't be here, but she was on a date last night with the guy who looks like the shooter of the healthcare CEO. Thank you. Thank you, very good.
I'm just trying to crochet.
So many of these books that TikTok tells me to read are just woman fucks weird thing. In It Ends With Us, the woman fucks a neurologist who speaks like a baby. In Fourth Wing, she fucks a dragon. And then in this book, she fucks a goblin. I've broken this down into 3 chapters and I have 3 chilies, so I'll eat a chili at the start of each new chapter, and I'm so looking forward to that. Here we go. Our first chapter of this particular video is characters and dialogue. So, oh, that was the whole fucking thing. Okay, so, a big problem with this book is that there are no likable secondary characters because everybody is an arrogant prick. Anytime the main character asks a question, which happens a lot, all the other characters respond by saying something that is arrogant and also not colloquial. And that's the way every single fucking character talks. It is so boring and annoying when every single character is eloquently condescending, regardless of if they're meant to be because they're ancient fairies. The entire first 60% of the book, woo, is the main character saying, oh, aren't fairies meant to be a certain way? Why aren't humans meant to hate you? And then Tamlin says some mysterious platitude, and that's the end of the conversation. Every single thing that Tamlin says has an ellipsis in it, often nonsensically, because everything he says is just so fucking profound. And also every character is growling or drawling or snarling. Just speak normally. But I would always get annoyed when the main character does something cool, because I knew that the other 2 fucking simps in the book would just praise her for the next 20 minutes for doing it afterwards in like backhanded compliments. Oh my god, you trapped the cereal? Wow, that's so impressive for a human. Oh my god, you brushed your teeth? All the names in this book are really bad as well. If you have a main character, they should not have a debatable first name pronunciation. Is it Feyre? Is it Feyre? I know it's Feyre, but like when I read it, I thought it was Feyre. One of the evil creatures is called the Bog, with 2 G's and an E, like B-O-G-G-E. I think it's more intimidating if you call them the Bog, B-O-G, because that's a word we normally have to describe other things. So if it's describing a character that has none of the characteristics of a bog, then it's more weird. It's odder, but it wouldn't be a weird fantasy name that's impossible to say, would it? I also had a weird feeling that the book would be better if there were just more unique characters. A lot of this book feels really fucking lifeless. For the first 70% of the book, there's 4 characters. And then in the last 25%, when things get bigger, there's still only like 6 or 7 characters we're regularly hearing from. It feels like everything happens between 2 places, and most of it takes place in this big, empty, lifeless manor. And it feels like the entire book is just in 2 places, and one of them is just a house. Whenever she'd go outside and fight some fucking troll or whatever, it'd feel like it was just in the backyard of where she was. It was very poor locational storytelling. Oh, goody, that's the end of the first chapter already. I've replaced the yogurt with a Pepsi. I'm sure the effect is going to be just as good. Outside of dialogue and characters and insignificant things like that, let's talk about the author's writing. That's the second chapter. Yummy. All 3 of these chili books suffer from over-eloquence. Excuse me, please. Choosing a single word in your sentence, your normal sentence, and then making it a fancier word is very Wattpad-y to me. And both Fourth Wing and this book do that. Another thing I love in these TikTok books is that the way they describe the nervousness in a character is always the same, by describing the fact that my legs are shaking, oh, my bowels turned to jelly, oh my god, a dagger of ice plunged into my heart, oh my god. And so yeah, these main characters are just always shaking around the house and the room spinning whenever they're nervous, jeez. She's not a very good descriptive writer when it comes to like describing a character. The description of the Suriel when we see them is the blandest. Oh, Pepsi, please. Thank you. Oh, holy shit, that makes it worse. Oh, it's really bad. It's really fucking bad. Many years have passed, and the pain stays. So as I was saying, there's a description of the Suriel, which is like really, really bland. But then we get a description of another type of faerie that I will not be allowed to say because it will demonetize me, because it sounds very much like a slur. Thank you for that, Sarah. Covered in dark scales and nothing more, they were a horrendous combination of serpentine features and male humanoid bodies, whose powerful arms ended in polished black, flesh-shredding talons. Now, those are indeed words of description, but what do they mean? Let's unpack them. Powerful arms ending in talons? What the author means is hands that have fingernails with talons on them. She does not mean arms that turn into pincers like a fucking praying mantis. That's not what she means, but that is unfortunately what she said. Saying a combination of serpentine features and male humanoid bodies tells me that the author was thinking a cross between a man and a snake, but she couldn't say a cross between a man and a snake because that's too simple, so she, instead of expanding on that, just used fancier words for those two things. Instead of snake, it's serpentine features, and instead of man, it's male humanoid body. Very good. There were so many moments where, like, one tiny edit would just tighten up the writing, and that goes through, like, the whole book. Here's another quote I took. It was like seeing the world being born, and we were the sole witnesses. Witnessing already means seeing. If you remove the word seeing from that sentence, it would be, it was like the world being born and we were the sole witnesses. That puts more focus on the first part of the sentence where the actual thing being described is there, and it also removes that kind of tautology. Just one word, taken out, instantly better. And there were several examples of inefficient writing like that in the book that I noted. Oh my god, I actually just gave myself a fever. However, the worst thing in this book is not the characters or the plot, it's not the dialogue, all of that pales in comparison to the god levels of exposition. In the first half, it's pretty bad, where the main character will ask people questions that she basically already knows the fucking answer to. Yeah, that's brave. The book did start to improve when things actually started to happen, because that wasn't the case for the first half of the book. But when the other character, Rhysand, shows up, who's like he's the suave guy from the Night Court, and when he shows up, he just comes to taunt the characters and deliver exposition, and he has no other purpose in that scene. He doesn't come to give a point. There's no reason for him being there. He just comes to tell the audience something. Holy fuck, is the dialogue bad in that scene too. They're being all courteous, and they're being like, oh, yes, very nice to have you here. Oh, it's very nice to be here. And then they'll get up in each other's face and growl and be like, get away from her. And then they'll get back to being like, yes, well, I'd very much like to stay here, but unfortunately I have somewhere. And it was just back and forth and back and forth. In around all that, there was also just gorgeous exposition coming at you. So yeah, that was one of the best scenes in the book. And then we get to the holy grail of exposition dumps. An amount of exposition that is deeper and vaster than any of the seas in Prythian. When the character Alice explains the entire backstory of the book in one fucking 15-page sitting to the main character. So here's what she does in this exposition dump. She introduces a new villain, explains the villain's motivations fairly formally. She basically gives every single piece of mythology that we need in the book that we hadn't gotten already in one fucking dump. She explains every mystery in the book, including why Tamlin was being weird. And then at the end, she explains how the main character is involved with that, and then calls her a bitch, and then leaves. It was almost experimental just how much fucking exposition is in this book. It's so thrilling. It's like Lee Child, but instead it's written by a child. Boom! I've come to the third chapter that I have here, and I was going to eat the third chili. However, on the second chili, I was nearly bedridden, so I am unsure if I have it in me to eat the third chili. The only way I will eat it is if you smash that fucking subscribe button. Our third chapter for today is called Romantasy. What is Romantasy? What is the concept of it? And how is this book not that? Cheers. Oh. Sorry, I got a little bit left there. Yeah, sorry. Kill me. Apparently this isn't fantasy, it's something called romantasy, which is fantasy crossed with romance. And apparently for this particular genre, the author has to not give a fuck about the fantasy side of it, and instead only focus on the romance for about, I would say 3/4 of the book, making this book a romance with some exposition on the side to just sweeten the deal a little bit, yeah. Look, Fourth Wing's the same, too, but Fourth Wing's really consistently dumb, which I appreciate. This book is, like, not that at all. This book is mostly 3 characters talking in a house, and that's the romance part, and then the book just starts getting dumber by the end. When all of the lore and world building in your book is a 10 to 15 page exposition at the end, I'm not believing that the fantasy side of your book is your top priority, or even your second priority, or even a priority, shockingly. And I don't think this classifies as a romantasy, whatever that is. I think this is some shittier offshoot of that. Oh, I love you, but I have to send you away because I'll hurt you if you stay, or you'll be hurt. Oh, he's such a brute, but there's actually way more to him under the surface, wow. Even I've seen this shit 100 times, and I don't think the author is self-aware with it. And even if she does subvert a lot of those tropes later on in this series, she doesn't do it here, but then the last quarter of this book is totally different to the first 3/4 of it. It's like an entire second book tacked on the end. It has a full arc, but it's like the last, I don't know, like 100 pages? We're getting to the climax of the book, and we've introduced our new villain. I'm saying new villain, even though she was in the background the whole time. We don't know anything about her. New villain. And the main character is going back to save Tamlin, and she's running down under the mountain, and she gets there, and I'm like, okay, this is the climax. This is gonna be like a couple of pages. We're gonna resolve this shit. And then the queen, the evil queen is like, you must complete challenges 3. And I was like, oh, it's never gonna end, is it? And guys, our main villain is so complicated. She's so complicated because she is evil and she wants to rule the world. But then near the end, when she starts doing these challenges, the book starts to get a little grosser, which I appreciate. She has to run from a worm and she's fucking rolling around in the mud. I appreciated that. I feel like the writing also improved a little bit from here. One line that I liked was, the music folded over itself like batter being poured from a bowl. I was like, oh, that was neat. It's such a change of pace, and then the weird night guy comes and heals her, but he brands her too, and I was like, no, this is interesting, you know, we're getting somewhere with this. And the main character suffered a lot, which I appreciated, because I did not like her, so it was cool to see her suffer, and also to, like, step up a little bit. There's a bit at the end where the evil bitch is like, you must kill these people! And I was like, she's gonna puss out, she's not gonna do it. And then she picks up a knife and she fucking shakes them, and I was like, great, excellent, good. That was egg on my face, I didn't see that coming. But the third act is totally different, and that is more in line with the dark fantasy that this book is marketed as. But the first 3/4 of the book are not like that. It's 3 people talking in a fucking room. And all of that stuff has the familiar tropes where I could predict exactly where it was going, and I was just getting bored. And then, at the end, the book does something interesting, and I resented it more. So yeah, this was a total mixed bag. I didn't like it as much as Fourth Wing or It Ends With Us, but it's probably the better book of the 3. And thus concludes our Chilli Trilogy. We've done It Ends With Us, we've done Fourth Wing, we've done... what was this called again? So yeah, thank you all for watching. I've been working on kind of a big video, and I mean, I've been doing research for this big video, and that'll be out in a long time from now. So that's why you haven't seen a lot from me recently, but I finished a lot of that shit, so now I can get back to just doing a bunch of nonsense, which is what appeals to me. So thank you all, bye!